Hey, Simon here. I thought I'd do a quick tutorial video to talk about getting set up with a basic base in the game, how to do that efficiently, maybe talk about some more detail that isn't in the in-game tutorial, and just to provide a quick start guide for players who want to get up and playing once they've mastered the camera movement. So the first thing when you're starting the game is you get the choices of colonists. Usually the best choices start with people with medicine. So pick anyone who you have with medicine. Then we want things like firefighting, as these people will be better at putting out fires and handling emergencies. They're obviously people completely useless, but at the same time they might have useful psychological profiles. The psychological profile will affect many different things in the game, so you might want to look at that. Their fitness might show how long they can kind of sustain running and other different kind of exercise-based activities, things like combat and things. So, for instance, this person is antisocial, so they might not be good, but they have got good fitness. Dendrology is study of trees, so that's someone who would excel in the late game. This person has explosives, so perhaps if you are building base defenses, that might be good. Mongolian throat singing and antisocial are probably not a good mix. It's probably good to pick the odd optimist if you don't have other good choice. This person has electronics, firefighting, so definitely want this person, and energy research. Colonists, of course, can learn skills as they go. People with construction skills are obviously good, as that will help building food skills and livestock skills are things you want to look out for. So when getting set up, I usually first of all find the area near my base and just get the imps set for digging, give them plenty to get on with, as we don't want them getting bored. Place a door here. So first of all we want our workshop, so just double click. I usually start with one workshop table. I might add one later in the game, and maybe 1 or 2 microwave smelters. I'll also place a nanoscale 3D printer in case we lose the imp early on. Hopefully we won't though. Next up I'll start with 1 wind turbine and 1 solar panel. The portable one can be placed without being built at the workshop table, so it's a bit quicker, and the wind turbine obviously needs the workshop table. I place both of these as they'll give a good mix of energy. The wind turbine is mostly reliable. There's basically always wind, but it can fluctuate, and when it fluctuates, it can fluctuate on a much longer scale. So it could, for instance, not be windy for several days at a time, whereas every day the sun comes out, even if it's cloudy or raining and things. Obviously, the solar panels do cut out every day as the sun sets, but they do give you a kind of a sine wave of electricity, or an absolute sine wave as it goes up and down. So I don't really rush in the early game. I think one of the things that some people struggle with is they place a lot of items. They get very panicky and overload their colonists early on. It's a good idea to maybe spend more time thinking about where you're placing things rather than rushing to get the things placed. So I'm placing a heater on the wall. Heaters obviously heat up the room, but if a colonist has hypothermia, they might actually seek out warm areas. So it's actually always useful to have a space heater, even if your base is warm enough from the other things happening in it. Next up I'll place an atmosphere generator. I usually place this in the storage room, as that has the highest traffic in the game. Next up I'll probably set this to a temperature graph, and I'll probably build some more wall screens in other rooms as well. So we can see the red line on the graph actually shows us where we really don't want to be. So we're quickly approaching a point where we're going going to be dropping below that. So the atmosphere generator will warm up this room, the space heater and these smelters. So smelters you don't have to click to start, but you can. The imps can load the smelters for you, but they can't start it. The colonists can load it and start the smelter. I call in colonists as soon as the colonist countdown is finished. Some people are very conservative and they don't want to bring them in because they're worried about supporting more colonists in the base. Basically, more hands on deck is always better. So if you want something prioritized, you can middle click, obviously. There's also the middle click menu on finished items where you can set who is the user of an item. So I might tell several people they can't use an item. You'll see this microwave smelter has two sets of materials in it. That's because a colonist who has a construction skill is using it, and therefore they can be more effective. So in here I'm going to place my hydroponics. Again, just double click, or you can obviously click and drag it out. I'll place the door, and I'm going to place the propagator, which is the new item in Maia 0.67. Until this is built, you can't really get going with the room.
Meteorite impact warning. Low temperature warning in workshop.
So we're now going to be warming this room up now. Colonists are not really in danger until you go below 10 degrees Celsius. So this is one of those imp tasks, as a colonist is suggesting. I will say yes to this, as I think our imps have dug out the rooms which we've asked of them. I'm going to place another room here. I'm not quite sure what yet. Obviously be wary about having huge amounts of dugout areas, as especially large rooms can form lots of faults and an earthquake can bring them down.
Meteorite impact warning.
So one of the other things we need to be doing is, one, checking the manifest regularly. So we're pretty much fine for everything at the moment. 1 day's food should be alright. A colonist will use about 10,000 kilojoules of food a day, and that's from running about and thermoregulation. So in a warmer base you might need less food as your colonists expend less energy warming up their bodies. In a smaller base they're going to spend less time running around, so they're going to eat less food as well. So let's read our emails. We've got grid emails, these are fine. That's just the one welcoming us to the email account. We've got creatures coming close to the base. So we want to maybe put a turret up if they come and destroy things. So this guy's happy with the amount of food, and he's slowly building up relationships with the other colonists, and he's complaining about a lack of beds, and he's reasonably optimistic. So there's someone sitting on the floor, which is also a sign that we need to start thinking about beds soon. So when you build the propagator, you get potatoes to start with, and then obviously click it and it'll start working on your new things. You don't need to go crazy with the hydroponics. A handful of planters will basically do any base. What's key is you place work lights or other lights to ensure that the plants have enough light. More light means more growth. It's actually much more efficient to place a good amount of light than it is a large amount of planters. Meteorite impacts are currently not a massive issue in the game, although later in the game there will be impacts on the ground area around your base, which will lead to the meteorites that you can collect in the craters occasionally for research. I'm just looking around the base to see if we've got any geothermal vents, which are the kind of blue vents with hot air coming out of them. Seems we don't.
Hydroponics.
So getting a low temperature warning in the hydroponics. However, I'm not going to build a heater in there for the moment, as the propagator uses electricity, and as do the lights, and that will raise the temperature. So our carrots are nearly ready. Gonna give it a few seconds, and we'll place them. The plants are actually most susceptible to blue and red light. So if you have multiple lights, you might want to set the color by clicking on it and setting it blue, and then another one red. However, as I don't have it, I will just put a neutral light color, because I don't have to. That actually saves power, because you're obviously using a lot less energy just to create the colors that you need, that the plants need. The color of the light does affect colonist mood. However, in the hydroponics, they're not going to be in there long enough for that to be an issue. In the living area, you want to think about that a bit more. So colonist has gained a skill. Oh, okay, someone's... No, we don't need to do that again. So this guy's gained a skill in construction because he's been building a lot of things. We can quickly just check how full these ration packs are just by clicking on them. So we've still got quite a lot of food left. We still have 1 day's food remaining, as the colonists won't have started hungry. However, we'll place a couple ration packs just in case, as we are now producing food. You see that the potatoes grow quite quickly. In the room settings panel, we could set the room to be harvested early. However, that's only really if you really need them to harvest the crops, if you have people starving. So next up, we want the living area, and we want it to be quite central, as colonists will be coming in and out of here quite a lot. And we want to place one bed. Usually people place maybe a bed for every colonist, but in the early game that's unnecessary, as the colonists can effectively share and maybe put in a couch as well. So we want to put in a food preparation station, which will be more efficient than building ration packs. And once they finish this room, I'll put in a dining table. So next up, the base is going to start needing repairs very soon. So I'm going to place 2 utility robots. And as soon as they're done, I'm going to place some cleaning robots, as that will also become an issue, as the base is getting messier and messier. So again, we've nearly got another bunch of colonists ready to come down. So I'm keeping an eye on that, as I want to click it as soon as possible. I also want to keep the propagator creating things. I'm not too worried. This will actually probably suit us for a while, although I want to vary my colonist diet, so I'll probably want to build one of every type of planter. See, colonists are already... The carrots are the fastest growing, but the potatoes have a higher calorific yield. So we want to make sure our imps are not getting bored, so we probably want to consider giving them another job. It looks like the best place would be here. And we'll call down another set of colonists. Hopefully they're close to the base. They're quite far away, but that should be fine for now. Sometimes they may come down on the other side of a rock face, and you may have to dig through to get them. So here's a smelter that I can start for extra materials. If you find that your colonists are not building ever, always check the thing down here and see if the building materials are low. Then go into the storage room and just set the stockpile for building materials lower, as you don't want people coming in here to place building materials when they should just be putting them straight into objects. As you see, this guy's stockpiling stuff when he really should have just gone and built something with it. So now we've got this room done, we want the table. The table is a companion to the food preparation station and the rations. It doesn't obviously create any food, but what happens is colonists who eat at the table digest their food better. They also have social interactions, and they also gain rest from sitting at the table to eat. So it kind of multiplies the effects and is a multi-use object in that regard. So soon people are going to start getting pretty sick. We're going to want to build a medical room, so we're going to build one here. So this person wants to break down the landers, so we can get the things. I'm going to say no to this, as I know there's one miles away and I don't want my colonists going all the way out there and then getting incredibly fatigued. However, these two I think are close enough. The imp can come pick up the building materials from them. So I want to find where my new repair robot has gone. Okay, it's going to repair the workshop table, which is good. The workshop table actually does degrade over time, and eventually you may see it smoking or the light flickering and it becomes unusable. You want to ensure that that is always fixed, and then after that the wind turbine. The utility robots are not as good as knowing the importance of an item. They just know the damage level of it, whereas the colonists know how important an item is to them. So you may see colonists going out to fix things when the robot hasn't. But generally, if you have enough robots, the robots will repair things at a fast enough rate that your colonists will never have to do it. Which is good, because you don't want them wasting time when the robots could be doing it.
Low temperature warning in medical.
So my medical room is built. It's cold, so we're going to place a heater on the wall. You'll notice I've only built one atmosphere generator, and currently it's doing the whole base. I know some people build them in every rooms, but they're just creating a maintenance nightmare for themselves. I would just keep it to one room, or maybe one or two. By the time you get up to the max colonist limit, you probably want a couple in the base, especially if you have chickens, which will breathe a lot of air. So I want more graphs, so I'm going to build some more wall screens. By building the wall screens, you're effectively creating a UI for yourself. So we can see that this room's hanging around 16.9 degrees, which is a reasonably healthy temperature. Just saw Colin's drinking some water, which reminds me that I can place condenser units on the walls. these allow colonists to drink water, so I'll put it in the most trafficked rooms, like the workshop, and maybe one in the living quarters. Obviously they get water from the food as well.
Atmospheric storm.
So an atmospheric storm is a hurricane hitting land. So we want to make sure that we have enough power in solar panels, as we may shut down the wind turbine in the middle of the storm. Also, in the middle of the storm you get into the eye of the storm and there's no wind.
Low temperature warning in medical.
You notice in this game that I haven't needed to prioritize anything that I wanted built. The colonists actually should be productive. They have a complex needs and wants system, and they are well aware of what needs building and how important that is, and in a relative fashion they should always build the things that they need first. Sometimes it's not apparent to you, the player, what they want, which is why you should read their emails. See, so this guy's already complaining that he wants some cleaning robots and that the place is a mess. So I'll build a cleaning robot in here as well. The imp is bringing in our building materials. Whether or not the time spent breaking down those landers is worth it is debatable. You do get 3 building materials for every lander though. So if they are close, it is worth always doing it. We'll also want to be building some flywheels, especially since we have a hurricane incoming. The flywheels store energy in your base. It's kinetic energy, and then they'll release it as electricity when you need it. So because the building materials are low, they keep suggesting we break down this lander. However, I feel it's so far away, it would be far better just to smelt more things.
Low temperature warning in living area.
So the living area has the food preparation station, which should create warmth. The room should be warming up slowly. It may be because this door is open to a large rock area that it hasn't yet. It's not a dangerously low temperature, so I'm not going to worry about building things to heat it up, especially when I have other stuff like lights and things going in here soon. But you can see the colonist's breath is showing, so it is slightly cold in there. So next up we've got the medical room, and we've got that ready. So we want to consider a medicine dispenser, which provides treatments. We want the scanner, which diagnoses our colonists. I made this room quite small. Let's place it here. Then once someone has been diagnosed, they're going to want to get onto a medical bed. Yep, this room's far too small. Let's move this into the corner a bit, I think. To move things on a grid, you can press Control, and you can get grid placement. You can also press R and T to rotate, of course. And you can click drag to rotate as well. If you press Control while clicking dragging, it will lock it into place at the nearest 45-degree angle. As you can see. An IV drip, when placed near the medical bed, will provide water and nutrients to someone on the bed, so they won't starve to death while they're in medical. So we want to now reconsider how much food we've got. We've got 0 days, however, we do have a constant stream of food coming in. If food preparation station can hold 4 colonists' food effectively for 1 day, as it's 40,000 kilojoules. At this point, I would probably consider building a second one, as I'm going to be cooling down more colonists very soon, and we're starting to run out of our original ration packs.
Energy storage depleted.
So lots of people gaining construction skills. And we need to consider our power situation. As the wind has died down, I'm going to build another wind turbine. The wind over the days does go up and down over time, much like the sun does. I think early mornings can be a lot calmer, and late afternoons. So in this room we'll probably build the research. In here we may build the command and control. Once that's built, we'll actually be able to cool down more colonists as we've hit the cap. And we can build a map table in here.
Low temperature warning in living area.
Let's build another imp robot. Let's find what our current one is up to. Well, I have no idea what he's up to. Oh, I guess there's a pile of building materials. And this guy's asking to give the imp robots free will. So I'm gonna deny him that. So my control room has been built, so I can cool down more colonists. And now we should be quite close to the maximum colony limit. So at this point I might build a livestock room.
Low power.
And we're going to fill this with chickens. We need to put avian feeders down for them to eat, because if they don't eat, they won't reproduce. And we'll put down a light as well, as that will attract them.
Solar event warning.
So that solar event warning is going to knock out our...
Electrical grid disrupted.
It's going to disrupt our electrical grid.
Energy storage depleted. Low temperature warning in control room.
So I might maybe place another portable solar panel and another flywheel to make our base slightly more robust.
Solar event
We'll get rid of those ration packs, as we now have food preparation stations that are doing fine.
disrupted. Energy storage depleted. Electrical grid disrupted. Solar event warning. Rations low.
So our rations are now low because our power's been out for so long that these food preparation stations are unable to process and cook food. However, once these solar events are out, we should actually have quite a large amount of energy coming in. as we have all these solar panels. You'll see this glitching coming from the disturbance. I get so many bug reports about this. It's intentional.
Low power.
As you see, I've only actually built one workshop table in the whole base, and it was fine. People have been building these. The imp is dropping off some minerals.
Low temperature warning in control room.
So I haven't seen the cleaning robot since we built it. I'm sure it's fine wherever it is. I'm going to build a radiator in here, keep this room warm. You'll notice we have medical reports coming in as people are starting to go to the room to be screened for things. Colonists will go to the medical room when they're feeling sick, but they'll also go just periodically if they've got nothing to do. Ah, so this person's been irradiated. This is likely because they were out in this solar storm and they maybe been hit by some cosmic radiation. Some high energy particles damaged their DNA. There's different levels of radiation, irradiation. Some are treatable, some are more fatal. So yeah, we've got a good base going. I've noticed that there's a few bits of research data starting to come out as the colonists are discovering things. Obviously I haven't pushed them towards research yet. The research works in kind of 4 different channels. Each type of research that you collect is a specific type, be it energy, materials, ecology, or technology. Okay, say yes to this colonist who wants to do some mining. See if he's made a decent order. Yeah, that's okay. It's kind of behind these, but I'm sure that's fine.
Temperature warning in control.
And by picking what type of research data you collect, you're actually choosing what path you want to go down, and the specific perks that you receive will be based on that data. So if you collect lots of tree samples, although there are no trees on this level, so you can click a tree, or for instance if you shoot a creature you can mark them for research and your colonists will collect their body parts and take them to the necropsy table. If you collect all that, you'll get lots of ecology based ones which are to do with harnessing the local wildlife and creatures. If you collect lots of materials data, you might come up with new ways of creating graphene and things, and so you might get more efficient stuff or stronger items that break down less. If you get energy, you can push towards getting a fusion reactor that you can get up and running, and so on and so on. And that's how you actually channel the research. It's based on what you give the colonists. And if you're collecting a lot more of one type, they'll figure that you want that type of research more urgently. Obviously some items create several different types. For instance, this weather station will give climate reading and it will actually give you energy, ecology and technology data, because obviously weather is useful for all sorts of things around the base and understanding the local climate. Okay, so we've lost one of our imps. Oh, and lava's lava's coming into the base, and everyone's dying in the lava. So anyway, I'm going to pause the game here, and I will see. No, the colonists are trying to fight it. This was never going to work. Anyway, I'm going to leave the game here. I'll see you guys later. I hope that has told you how to get your game kind of up and running. And to remind people that they really, really need to build bulkhead doors to stop lava. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.